All right, folks, you're about to meet the latest addition to the Cliff Freeman Group. You know him. He's a celebrity here in town. Fox Sports, Texas Cable News Network, CBS. Coming up next, the man we love to love, Brady Tinker on Cliff's Notes. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. Guaranteed. Coming at you today live from Lincoln Center, and hey, we're going to be laying it down, C3. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. Excited to have Mr. Tinker here with us.
We got a family friend, a guy that you grew up with, Jake and Luke, his 2 boys, and in fact played baseball together, and Brady coached the team. And so this is a great moment here that we can announce that that we have a new addition to the family.
Yes.
He's actually coming back to the family after years of just incredible broadcasting time you've had. You've covered, Brady, you've covered the Mavericks, the Cowboys. Is there anybody you haven't covered?
Not really. Even FC Dallas I got into because they have such a great organization. So I didn't grow up with soccer, but hockey I got into. When I got here, Madonna and Hull were knocking things around and figuring out how to win a Stanley Cup. So I figured out what offsides was and hung out with those guys too. Those guys are actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like Madonna's records. She was really good. Oh, you're talking about the hockey player. I'm sorry. Okay. Trelvis, did you put some Dramamine in my coffee here or what?
I did not.
No? Okay. All right. Hey, and by the way, before we dive in here, Trelvis is our spiritual guru here on the show. And Trelvis, you have been amazing at predicting these Cowboy victories after Dak got let go here with his thumb. What do your tea leaves tell you now about the future?
The only thing I do is always pick the Cowboys to win. So I'm going to pick them to win.
That explains it.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to take that to the bank, I guarantee you. Yeah,
Cash that one in.
I like their chances this weekend.
You do like them this
weekend?
Yeah, sure.
Things get tougher, but I like their chances.
Yeah. You know, we just got back from lunch and had a wonderful conversation about so many things, and football obviously comes up, and fantasy football. We're going to jump into some of that here in a minute. But, the big news for us today, Brady, is that you've decided to, take another step in your career path here and get into the real estate business and serve, folks here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area at a very high level. And, we were super excited to get the phone call that you were interested in exploring real estate business and the reasons why you wanted to and so forth. Let's go back a little bit here. And, we've got an audience that, oftentimes we'll have aspiring young real estate agents that are watching or people who are interested in getting in the real estate business. You mentioned to me some time ago that you've been looking and people had encouraged you to get your real estate license for a good while, but you didn't. What was this zero moment of truth that you had when you just got the epiphany that it was the time?
I try as hard as I can, as old as I am now, to not let fear dictate anything. But certainly through the years, it was something that I thought I could do. People would say, are you living your dream doing sports radio and TV? And I always would say, absolutely, except for one part. For most of it, after the first 7 or 8 years, I've owned my own businesses, so I've always had to raise money. I've always been a salesman, and I've always been good at it. But if it was my true dream, I would just be getting paid tons and tons of money to be a television sports broadcaster or radio or whatever it may be. In the end, I've always had to combine the two. So I think I met people along the way who impressed me in your industry. With their knowledge, with how personable they were, how they never made me feel like that they were selling me something. They were trying to, do a service for me in getting to the next home, or me and my wife, or whatever it may be. So I always liked it, and people would say, you can do this. And a few times I looked into it, and everybody was sort of short with me about, well, just get your license. Okay, and I had so many other questions, and I couldn't get any answers. And once my son actually talked to you, C3, and just said, listen, you need to go talk to them. They have a team. And that's what you like, Dad. You like being around a team. You like having lots of answers and lots of weapons. All the way back to when you kids were playing baseball.
Right,
You know,
yeah, no,
I wanted strength up the middle. I wanted people to hit in a certain place. You know, I had it all figured out, I think. But it was so much fun. But anyway, I'm a team guy. And so when the team aspect came in, and then it was with friends, it was with people that I've known. How long have we known each other? How old are you? I mean, we've known each other at least 20 years.
At least, yeah.
Right?
I'd say.
That made it a lot easier, and that intrigued me a lot.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now, let's just go back to that time. It was frozen rope, select baseball. There was a couple of players on that team. One being a young man named Torrey Hunter. Didn't he play? Wasn't he on that team for a while? I thought Torrey played baseball.
I don't think so.
We were. That was before.
A little older.
Okay.
Yeah, that was PSO days. We were.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So the Astros.
Yes.
That was PSA.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, but he was in the mix there for sure. Well, that's the whole thing about a team in real estate. There's a lot of lone rangers out there.
Yeah.
And most that I have met have been that.
Yeah, and I mean, listen. You got to start somewhere, but 74% of realtors, that there was a survey that Verl Workman did recently, said that joining a team was such an asset to help them get out of the gate faster than trying to learn it on your own. I guess it's kind of like if you were jumping out of medical school, and you wanted to start a practice without, having the surround support help and stuff. You could certainly do that, but in your case, you bring a tremendous amount of experience, life experience, business experience, marketing experience. You're in the consumer's eyes all the time. You're definitely a B2C guy. And that's what is so unique about the skill set that you bring here, to the game. What were the things that for you? I know you mentioned that the fact you like to have the support. What else was it that when you were making this sort of decision about who you wanted to partner with? Was there anything else that was important to you in that regard?
Being around people that I trusted, and certainly set our friendship aside, your relationship and what you guys have done here is well known. And I asked people, and they were like, "Oh yeah, he's got it going. He understands this market. He will teach you and move you along quickly," which is what I was interested in. He will take your assets, as any good coach does. He will take the assets that you have and that you bring to the table and show you how to make the most out of them, which then puts me at ease, right? I know I can sell. Who do I sell to? How do I market it? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I know you're going to get me through that. So,
and you and I talked about your long-term goals. Your long-term goal is to really be an expert in the trade and then go on to sort of create your own, legacy in the business, build a team and so forth. And in terms of scalability and leverage, I mean, that's what we've really designed our program for. I often call it a 2-year mini MBA in real estate. And after 2 years, I expect you to be able to go out on your own, build a team, and replicate what I've done. I mean, that's really the goal of the program here, is to help people like yourself who have great opportunities and a lot of value that you bring to people you're going to do business with, and to help them leverage and get where they need. This is an interesting business. I remember getting started. My mom was a realtor with Ebby Holiday back in the day, and she worked at that little white house at Preston and Northwest Highway, and things were a lot different back then. You go back into the broadcasting business quite a bit too. Let's just talk a little bit about your history. You actually, Brady, if I recall correctly, I think you said when you got into business, you started out in New York, right?
I actually was in the apparel industry, living in L.A.
In L.A., okay.
And I lived in L.A. and as a 21, 22-year-old, making, as I remember, roughly $17,200 a year.
Woo.
Which translates probably to about 40,000 now. Can you imagine living in L.A. or Orange County trying to live on $40,000? I didn't do much, to be honest with you. I stayed home. There was a local gym that I think was $38 a month, so I was able to get some basketball and some lifting and swimming in. Mm-hmm. I dated once a month, which was just zero. And so when they called and said, "Hey, we have a position in Dallas," I was like, "I'll take it." Mm-hmm. We didn't even tell you how much it was. Well, I can't afford it here. The people are very cliquey, and I never really got along, and I never really got to experience California because I didn't have the money to experience it. I couldn't even park near the beach, much less go to the beach. So I went to New York a lot. Those were good life lessons. Living in LA and traveling to New York 6 or 8 months or 6 or 8 weeks out of the year. When you're young, I did stupid things. You were not supposed to take the subway in the middle of the night by yourself out to a Yankee game or home. You're not supposed to walk on the short blocks. You're supposed to walk on the long blocks. Sure. I didn't know any of that stuff. I'm out, and my big ears flapping in the wind, and there's New York, and there's this street, and there's that street, and look at the pretty girls. And so it was all great, and I got away with it. But yeah, I was in the apparel industry selling men's wholesale clothing to Dillard's and Foley's and Macy's and Filene's and stores people don't even remember.
Yeah, and you were pretty good at it too, weren't you?
Well, I think the economy, I didn't know. I remember by my second or third year in the apparel industry at 24, I was making $100,000 in 88. And I didn't really realize how much the economy affects everything. I was young and stupid. And I remember thinking, I shouldn't even gone to college. Wasted a bunch of time. I'm great at this. Making 6 figures. I wish I had those 4 years back. And then all of a sudden, as we all know, everything takes a turn. And when it took a turn, all of a sudden, it wasn't fun anymore, a little boy's point of view. But I was selling really cool clothing, and we were making money, and people liked them, and our price points were great. But when the economy tanked, all of a sudden, the color palettes weren't quite as good. The pricing was just a little bit too high. And I'd sell 1,000 dozen to Dillard's, and I'd end up taking 800 dozen back, and the paychecks began to dwindle, and it became a spreadsheet business. And I was like, I don't really want to be in the spreadsheet industry. That was when I was here, and I literally made a decision. I asked my wife, I said, we have some money in the bank. Our house is doing great. Can I take a shot at this? I was 33. Can I take a shot at sports broadcasting? And I met Norm Hitzges. And he spent some time with me, and the first thing he said was, don't do it. There's only about 10 people in this market making any money, and someone with your passion and your voice, they'll take advantage of you, and you'll make no money. And, of course, I couldn't be deterred, and in some part he was right, but it's been kind of glorious, too.
Well, Norm is such a legend in this town.
And an unbelievable friend. He's literally a legend in this country. He is a radio Hall of Famer for a reason.
Sure. Yeah. Well, how did you get started? What did you start doing? Were you running around the studio?
Yeah, it's always sales, right? So Norm introduced me to a group at the time that was Prime Sports that was connected to HSE. Remember Home Sports Entertainment?
Oh gosh, yes.
And I was doing some radio with him at KLIF and with Mike Fisher, who's still very famous. But they were paying me like $10 an hour, and I was learning and having fun. But my wife was like, $10 an hour, we've got a kid on the way, and you want to have another one, and the house payment, and $10 an hour wasn't doing it. And Norm said, I'm doing some stuff over here with Prime Sports on TV. You always said you want to be on TV, really not radio anyway. So I met them and said, this is what I want to do. I think I'm going to be great on TV. And they were like, great. You went to North Texas and you got a radio, TV, and film degree? I was like, Kansas State marketing, and I made a lot of C's. And they were like, oh, this is great. Well, your resume says you can sell. Help us sell the 2 TV shows that we're doing, and we'll let you get some behind-the-scenes work. We'll put an IFB, which I didn't know what that was, in your ear. We'll let you learn how to read the prompter, and we'll let you hang around doing this as long as you can sell. That's how we're going to pay you. And if you're supposed to be on TV, wink, wink, then you will. And actually, literally about a year and a half later, Fox Sports came in, bought up Prime Sports and HSE, and they told my boss, we really like this show that you're doing, but we want you to make some changes with the people who are on it. Who else you got? And my boss was like, I got a guy. I got a guy. And I remember I was in the room when he said it. It was David Gorn or somebody big at Fox, and he said, give him a shot. But if he sucks and I tell you you got to fire him, you got to fire him too. Big gulp. But but the opportunity was there, and I got lucky. I really had some good help.
That's great. Now, I got to ask you, because we have a mutual friend. I don't know if you know this or not. I think he might have trained you a little bit at KLIF.
Okay.
Do you remember a guy who used to be a professional wrestler named Chris Myers?
I remember Chris Myers. Yeah.
Did you know?
So
that-
why he's a friend of you guys?
Well,
He's actually, in fact,
part of our group.
Our lender.
Is that
he's,
right?
He's
He's
our
our lender
loan
partner,
officer
yeah.
with Success Lending.
All right, I have more friends. In
So
my
we're
new
going to
job.
reconnect
That's
you
great.
with Chris.
That
Chris,
is
I know
great.
you're
Chris.
watching out there.
That is great.
Show us a little love. Hit the heart button there and welcome.
We'll have to get you guys
Brady.
back
Yeah.
connected again.
That's great. I
Yeah,
can't wait.
definitely.
I can't wait. That is the
Definitely.
thing about this life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
a small world.
It is a
and
small
you will
world.
Circle back
Don't burn
around.
any bridges,
Don't
right?
burn any
Ever.
bridges.
Yeah. What are we
right.
like? 5 degrees of separation? Or
Six. Yeah, six.
Something like that.
So tell us about the first show. What was that like?
It was a whirlwind, and the truth was my boss at the time really wasn't a TV guy, and the emphasis for the business at that time still was that we were running fantasy sports games. It was pre-internet. So we were running fantasy sports games, and that was the business. And then my helping to sell these TV shows generated enough revenue to pay the back end and keep that business working. Everybody thought that was the business. People calling in, making phone calls in to make trades for second baseman or shortstops, and they paid $2, $2, and that was the business. All the while, I was raising $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million for these TV shows, and my bosses were like, "Yeah, that's great, but this is what we're doing." Luckily, the ownership was like, he keeps bringing in $2 million, and we weren't paying anything in those first 5 years to Fox Sports or to Big Fox. They needed the programming. And so they called my boss and said, "Listen, it's not bad. It doesn't suck. So you can keep doing this, and we're not going to charge you anything." And so it was Tuesday and Thursday, and then they would run 4 or 5 re-airs. So it was on TV 6 times a week, and we weren't paying a dime. And here I am raising sponsorship money, and it's not costing anything. So luckily I was getting a percent of that money, and that's how I got paid. They would always be like, "We are never in your existence with this company going to pay you as a sports television broadcaster.
Oh, my.
You were getting paid as a salesman."
Okay.
And it was drilled into me.
Right.
And I kept thinking, someday I'm really going to get paid. Never really happened. I ended up selling the whole time, but it's been great. I will say that.
Yeah.
And in your show, it started was that in 1996? Was the first time?
96 was the first, and that was really, now they had done a year before I got there, but that was really the first ever fantasy football and fantasy baseball shows ever done to a national TV audience. And it didn't hit me. To be honest with you, I wasn't really into fantasy in 1995. Not
Right.
many people were.
Right.
And they were like, "You want to do this?" The answer was, if I'm on sports television, I want to do whatever you
Heck
tell me.
yes,
So
yeah.
you learn. It doesn't take that long.
Right.
But it was a different world with no internet. You're calling friends in Chicago to see if someone's really hurt or if they're going to be playing. The information trickled to you. But those were the first shows. And the first show I was ever on was to 54 million homes. Luckily, it just never really occurred to me that every person that I essentially knew or loved or that liked me or disliked me could tune in and critique me. But I had a guy named Hammond Reynolds that they brought to town who had worked for Fox Sports for years out of Atlanta. And I really don't know why they brought him in, but I think Fox felt like our show that they were going to do on a national basis was important enough, and I was so green that they really wanted him to come in and teach me, and it was the greatest break I ever got. Short of meeting Norm, who introduced me to them, and that friendship has been phenomenal for 30 years, Hammond Reynolds taught me what to do and what not to do, and he would throw things at me.
Yeah.
My hands are doing like this, right? I'm sure you guys have learned
Right,
about all
yeah,
this
you gotta
stuff, right?
keep-
Ankle, wrists on the desk, and Hammond would open that door. I would click a pen. One day I was clicking a pen, right? I'm clicking a pen. I didn't think about it, right? Click, click, click. He opened the door, and a stapler just came flying right over my head. And I'm like, right, don't click the pen. The door closed. But he was great. He taught me, and that was the greatest break ever, to get taught by somebody who'd been in the business 30 years and who had seen such talent, right? Was a great break.
Yeah, proximity is key. In that business, you learn so
Right.
much, just like the real estate business. You're creating sort of a tradition here now. We've had a number of local celebrities join the real estate business here in Dallas, and of course, most well known on our team would be Maria Arita Howard.
Sure.
Maria Arita was
Big time.
she was on CBS. She was on. I think she worked with Jeff Crilly for a while.
Yep.
And she is absolutely just crushing it now on the luxury side. I want to connect you guys because
I
she'll be a
can't
great
wait.
friend for you
I've never met her.
to meet. She's a super gal, and her husband Thomas, great family. But it is, I think, some ways C3 and I have talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
What are the best industries to come out of to get into real estate? And we all had agreed that, like working in the service business, like in a restaurant, there are a lot of people who have gone from bartending, waiting tables, whatever, and gone into the real estate business and been very successful about it. The other thing is that you've really got to have a big why, a reason to get out of bed. Something, this business can be very difficult, and I'm sure as you found out, just what you came out of was very difficult. And if you've got that experience in being successful in a difficult business, then, you have that, I don't know how to say it. It's like an intangible. You know what I'm saying? It's just that perseverance, that win, win-win. You don't ever stop. You don't take no, you don't quit. And I don't mean in the wrong way. I mean, you're pushing through for your clients, for
Perseverance,
example. Yeah.
It's funny you say you don't take no. I've always said no is my second favorite answer. Because as a salesperson, the middle is no place to be. Now, it's different, I think, in our industry, and I actually gave that a lot of thought, because just because someone's not quite ready doesn't mean they won't be ready. And I actually have watched several of your podcasts with people who said, there's something to continuing to mine that business of people who might be a year off or might be 3 months off or whatever it may be. Yeah. But if you've made a connection, those are the people you have to keep working. And I get that. It was not really that way in most of the sales that I did. If I made a sales pitch to someone about the TV show or the radio show or whatever it is, and the answers that I gave them weren't correct, it's not enough listeners or viewers. Now, everything is also based on social media, right? But if the answers weren't correct, then they weren't correct. And people would basically say, we tried. Nice to meet you. It's not for us. And in doing what I was doing too, I was always going up against the ticket and people like that, and I couldn't compete. There was no way I could compete with the numbers that they were getting. Yeah. So talented and so amazing. So I had to sort of figure out what it was on the periphery or the gray area that I could offer people besides, and a lot of it was just my passion of, this is what I do. I really love to do this. And so when I say competitive cameras on the air and I tell them where I got my cameras and how I get treated there, people will at least know I'm a brand advocate because I use what you do. And that they can't get from the ticket for the most part. You're buying commercials, you're buying spots, you're buying short reads. So I found, I sought the level that I needed to seek to be able to get a sale. So I think it's a little bit different in this and
yeah, I think your sales cycle is probably a little shorter in many cases because we have buyers who hop on our site and search for a year or 18 months, 2 years before they decide to buy. But the thing is that it's incredible. The National Association of Realtors does a study, and I refer to this all the time. But only 2% of sellers hired their agent because of the firm that they were affiliated with. And so what that speaks to is it's not about whether you have a balloon on your sign or your sign is red or you wear a yellow jacket, gold jacket when you go in and you've got that logo on your card. They hire you because they believe you're integrous. You came highly recommended from a friend, a coworker, or a family member.
You treated people the right way.
And it's exactly right. And you knew what you were doing. I do want to share this. It's important for the audience to hear this as well. I was at a conference one time, and I heard the speaker put it this way. He was describing what you need to be successful in the real estate industry. He said there are three things. He said the first thing is that you must have product knowledge. You must know what you're selling. You must be current and up to date on the houses that are available in a particular market, what's going on in the economy, and so forth. And he said, write this down. So write this down. That contributes about 15% to your ability to succeed in this business. Okay. And then he said, number two is your sales skills. Knowing how to sell, right? Knowing the scripts, the dialogues, the closes, all of that thing. and that's worth about 25%. So together,
So we're at 40,
we're at 40. Those are 2 out of the 3.
right?
So by far, he said, this is the most important part. And some of you are going to have trouble with this. And some of you are going to do really good right out of the gate. He said, number one, 60% of your success will be determined by how confident you are when you go on that listing appointment. And so how do people get confidence, Brady? What do you think? How do people just get, some people, you just look them in the eye, like, you walk in, it's the Southwest Airlines pilot that's got, 40 years, and he looks at you and says, we're going into San Francisco, one of the most dangerous airports to land in bad weather. And he says, I've done this 1,000 times. Sit back, have a cocktail. Don't worry about it, right?
When I talk in front of high school kids and stuff like that, and do TV, it's not a nerve-wracking thing for me because I am ready. I am prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I know who I'm talking to. I know what I'm talking about. Certainly sports is the same way. You have to have sort of a broad picture of things, and you have to understand who's asking the questions and what answers people want. But if you know all of that, then confidence is bred from the knowledge of what it is that you're doing, who you're talking to, what you're selling, and what the goals are. And I imagine I've been reading and listening a lot about your industry too, and reminding myself that there are times, even now in the last few weeks, where I was selling podcasts where I was trying too hard to make a sale, when the truth is I need to be listening more. And people that I would go in and talk to aren't used to that. I literally talked to someone a couple of weeks ago, and I said, if I could bring you anything via radio, TV, podcasting, and they know the least about podcasting, what would it be? What do you, when your boss comes to you and says, you spent this much money this month on marketing, how did it contribute to our ROI, and what did we miss? What'd you miss? If I could give you anything. And she was really taken aback. And she said, to be honest with you, send me some information and I'll think on that question and I'll give you an answer. And I really felt like that was a win, that's going to end up being a win.
Right.
Because no one ever asks her what she cares about.
Right.
So,
I mean, how does the doctor know what to give you if they don't ask you all the questions?
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, in years of doing the Cowboy Life podcast, which were stories from Dallas Cowboys, if I just went to the locker room, especially with kids, if I went to the locker room and I said, hey, tell me your story, a lot of these guys are not used to talking, plus they're leery of us, and they would say, I don't really have a story. And I'm thinking, young man, you're in the NFL, and there's a star on the side of your helmet, and your owner's worth about $8 billion, and the opportunities for you to market yourself beyond being good at football here in this little window of probably 3 years, because the NFL stands for not for long, are tremendous. And you have a story. So I stopped doing that, and I went back, and you do a deep dive on whoever it is you think you want to do a story on, and somewhere in there's a high school story, or a preacher story, or a mom and dad story, or a raised by an uncle story. And when you take that in and say, I heard this, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you're not asking me the same normal stuff. You've actually done a little bit of homework. And I have a feeling, as best we can do it, it's the same. And then I have to offer them television, radio, or podcasts. You have to offer them a marketing buffet of, we're going to find you that home, or we're going to sell your home for you. And all of these people are going to see it, and it's going to be presented in this manner. It's very similar, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, you speak like someone who has years of experience in the real estate business. You
I'm
picked it up
old, Cliff,
like
just
this.
like you.
I don't like, let's not say old, let's say experienced.
Okay, very good.
Like that.
How about worn in?
Worn in. Hey, Zig Ziglar said it's better to wear out than to rust out, right?
I agree with that.
And the other thing he said was, God gave you 2 ears, you should listen twice as much as you speak. Yeah. So, we talk, there's a book called Question-Based Selling by Michael Freeze. It's the Bible at IBM. When you go into sales at IBM, that's the first book they give you and tell you to read it. But it is, our industry is not about, it's consultative. It's not coming in with a solution until you know what the problem is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just they got to sell their house. There's a million things behind what's motivating them to sell that house that you have to understand.
What do you want? What are you scared of, right? What are you worried about? Why? What can I solve for you? What can I make you breathe a little bit easier?
Well, sometimes they want to sell today. Sometimes they don't have a time frame. Right. Sometimes it's a distress sell. They're having financial difficulties. Mm-hmm. I swear, I have probably am guilty of practicing in areas that require a license that I don't have, because I think I've been a marriage counselor, a psychologist,
Therapist.
oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it's just part of being an agent's job.
In
run
today's
into-
world, didn't we miss it on not being a therapist? I think I could have done that. I really do.
This
really
world is-
comfortable chair.
Yeah.
I could have done that.
Yeah, this is crazy. It
Yeah.
really is. Still, people, it's just history repeats itself. It's just it's sad. It really is. But,
It's sad.
there's always hope here. There's always hope. Well, tell us a little bit, Brady, what's that first transaction of yours going to look like? Is it going to be like that first TV show you did where you had 54 million people and you were just cold as ice, man?
Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great if I accidentally walked into a $2 or $3 million sale that someone was like, I used to know you when you were coaching C3 and you were good with the kids.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thanks. And we really need to sell this house, and it's mostly paid off, and we're relaxing. We're moving to Boca, so there's no pressure, right? I'd be like,
Right.
Great. I have a feeling it'll be similar to that, and I will be like, oh, this is easy. And then the second one or the third one will be like pulling teeth, and I'll be like, okay, it's not easy. It's not easy, but I can do it.
Yeah, the real estate gods make sure that you're humble. They will throw in those ones that make
100%.
you pay for all of the easy ones. You'll get
You earn
get
every
the
cent of
occasional
that.
one that you wish you'd never gotten out of bed that day.
The 8 p.m. drive across town that's 45 minutes because someone needs to see something else.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh!
I'm ready for
yeah.
that. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, it is. Our business is very emotional, and what our job is really to understand the emotions and then try to bring some logic into the picture, because most people, the outcome they're looking for is they want a good outcome. They want to get typically the biggest check at closing, and they want it done in their time frame. And so there's a lot of ways to get there, a lot of ways to get it done. And in this market that we're in, and by the way, you don't even you're not even fazed by the market right now. And a lot of people, we potentially, in my humble opinion, could lose as many as 300,000 agents in the next 12 to 24 months. We've gained that many in the last 5 or 6 years because they saw their neighbor pull in with a new Escalade, and they knew that she was in real estate, and so they thought that was their gravy train, the ticket to unlimited wealth and everything else that everybody always wants. So, but the reality is that having a skill set is going to be a requirement, not a suggestion, going forward here. And that's why I'm excited for your gift of discernment, knowing the right place to plug in, and because it is going to be a challenging market, but it's going to be only challenging for those people who don't have the skill set. Right. And so for the rest of us who've been doing this for 35 years, this is we kind of look forward to these seasons because it helps us kind of wash out some of the, and everybody needs to do that. We just have to, we don't want to be a bloated industry with too many agents and so forth. If you think about it, there's probably one agent for every 10 people.
Is that right? That's
I don't
the
know.
number?
I'm just making a
Mercy.
wild guess, but I mean, it is. There's not a million agents in Dallas-Fort Worth, but it feels like it sometimes. It's the Pareto rule to the extreme,
effect, yeah.
right? That's the 80-20. It's really about 95% of the money is made by 5% of the agents. So, but
So you're saying, is that nationally? Are you talking nationwide? We're going to lose that many?
yeah.
Or is that just local?
no, there's about 1.6 million
Is it worldwide?
realtors right now, just in the U.S. Yeah.
That's a big number. Whenever those hills and dales hit when I was trying to sell something, I always saw it as I'm better equipped than most. So while the profit level may go down just a little bit, the opportunity may be bigger because many are going to run. Many are going to retreat because they never really believed in what they were doing, and maybe they don't know enough about what they're doing. Right. So there are still going to be people buying and selling houses. There are still people. When the economy got bad, people were still buying radio and TV.
Yeah.
They were. They just needed someone who could talk them through it, who was equipped to quell their fears, right, and give them a little extra and make them feel good about the investment they were making. We're really running into that now, right? We are just short of a recession, most likely, and people are really holding on tight. Prove it. What are the numbers, right? How many people are on social media? All that stuff for me. Right, and how much interaction is there? It's becoming so much more specific, and I think your business is the same, and I'm going to need you to teach me all of that.
Yeah, no, you got it. We're here for you.
Yeah.
We're just speaking in general kind of terms here. We're still about 85,000 units short of a balanced inventory here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I had this just came to mind here. I don't know why, but I was thinking of Dr. Ed Williams. He was a professor that I had at Rice in the MBA program. He taught entrepreneurship. And he was talking about businesses. Why would you get started in a particular business? Well, he was one of the founders in Houston of SCI, Service Corp International. Okay. You know what business they were in? The funeral home business. It was very fragmented, lots of mom and pop. But he said, think about it. What's something that everybody's got to do on this planet?
Die.
We're going to die. Right?
How morbid is that?
But I mean, talk about a recession-proof business. I mean, it's just it's going to happen, right? And so that's a very solid business to get into. Well, everybody's got to have a place to live, right? Got to have a house over their head.
Right.
And, the long-term prospects for our industry are terrific. And the short-term prospects are good too. It's just that we got a Fed that is out of their frickin' control right now, that's trying to drive the economy down into the dirt. To come up with they're so old school. They're
still turning their dials.
Yeah, and we should have, instead of just monetary policy, there's got to be fiscal policy here. We got to stop spending and printing money like we are. It's absolutely ridiculous.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but that's what happens. Sometimes you get what you pray for. You always get what you vote for.
Some mornings I get up with my Beagle and we drive to McDonald's to get a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. And on weekends, quite often, in a very affluent part of town over here in Frisco, the doors are closed. You cannot go in. You can only go through the drive-through because she can't get enough people to come to work.
Oh, I know it.
And she's offering between $12 and $16 an hour to work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And she can't get enough people to come to work because
That's
of all
wild.
the money that was handed out in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people just prefer free money.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know
Kind of
what?
shocking.
It's not a surprise.
No, it's
No,
not.
I mean-
it's true.
Yeah,
Most people will take free money.
yeah.
So-
You're not going to believe this.
We're out of time.
We're out of time. This is the end of the show.
Flow, huh?
Can you imagine? I mean, I knew it was going to go fast, but I had no idea it was going to go this fast.
You're
That's
really good at
incredible.
this, by the way. And it just goes to show you know exactly what you're doing. So how hard was this for you when you first came in here, for you?
It was terrifying.
Was it really? Now, why? What brain power-wise, why was it terrifying? You're smart. You know
man.
your industry.
He was afraid your son was going to see him, and
That's
and
what it
make
was.
fun of him.
All my friends out
Well, I'm
there,
sure that happened.
they probably are watching now.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, it just takes time. I think anybody that's never been in front of a camera like this before can be a little scared.
Lights, camera,
action.
A guy over there telling you what you're doing wrong. And when wait till you get on TV and they put an IFB in your ear,
Right.
and you're talking, and you're supposed to go to the next thing or the next thing, and he's talking.
Yeah.
So you're sifting through the director or the producer saying we're going to this, we're going to run this and this and that and the other, and you're still supposed to be talking.
Right.
Now, there were times when I answered early in my career. So I'd be
Right.
like, no. I said, what's this? I can't remember that name. And I got two voices in my ear saying, Bill and Steve. And I'm like, no, that's not it. And I looked at the camera and I'm like, well, I have help. It's just not very good help.
Right.
And we just kept going.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's wild. Yeah, the only time I see these lights is in a dentist chair. That's what's
exactly
Yes,
right.
that's right.
Open wide.
Exactly. Brady, I'm going to let you have the last statement here. Is there anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about, just real briefly? How about a message? Do you have a message for our audience, for anybody who's contemplating? I mean, you made your choice to come here, and we're grateful that you're here, and I know that you did it for reasons. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and understand a little more about your decision process, and about why you're so excited about your career, would you be willing to take a call or an email from them?
Absolutely. We're all different humans, but I was always a team guy. There was nothing about it. I love coaching these kids. I love being part of a team.
Yeah.
Even playing golf in college, golf is a very individual sport, but we were a team. You needed to win 5 matches for us to win, the event.
Sure.
And so there was just something that always tickled me about having a team, the support of a team, and reaching out and supporting someone else.
Yeah.
All the way back to when I was a kid, 5, 6, 7 years old, my first baseball team. We had 3 of us that were really good players, some that were just okay, and we had 2 or 3 guys that were just awful, couldn't walk and chew gum. And my coach at that time took everybody on that team, and we built up the 3 players that couldn't play like crazy. And I had no idea how that would affect me as a person, but it made me feel great.
Yeah.
It made me feel great, and everybody rooted for everybody, and I think I've taken that lesson as a young man and really lived by it. So yeah, anybody that wants to know why I'm here because this is something I believe that I can do. I have a sales background. I'm not afraid, and now I know I have a team.
Yeah, well, you got a great heart
And
too,
you-
and that's
yeah.
that's what counts. What's the best way to get a hold of you? Are you on social media?
Yeah,
or-
at DFW Sports Beat for social
Okay.
media, Twitter and stuff like that. DFWSportsBeat.com, and you can email me, Brady C. Tinker at yahoo.com, middle initial C.
Yahoo.
Yeah, Charles.
All right.
Grandfather
Brady
was Charlie.
Charles.
Oh, wow.
Brady Charles Tinker, man, it's been a pleasure to have you on
Thank
the show,
you.
my friend.
Thank you. It's been great. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this adventure.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you we were going to be bringing the fire today, and we brought the fire. Hey, it's great to see everybody, and we're praying for our friends down in Florida on the East Coast and the West Coast as that horrible hurricane makes its way through. And you guys in Charleston, look out. We're going to camp angels on the coastline there and keep that nasty thing away from you. All right, next week, I'm going to be in Boca, and then we'll be in Vegas, so it'll be a couple of more weeks. But we will be back soon with some more additions to the Cliff Freeman group. Ginger and Edward, our friends from Tyler, Texas, are going to be on the show. So you guys tune back in next time on Cliff's Notes. All right, folks, tune in to Cliff's Notes every Thursday at 1 o'clock Central for the tips, tricks, and tactics to explode your business. I guarantee it.